There is a myth that transformation strikes like lightning, a single massive event that reshapes everything in an instant. But that's not how real change happens. Real change is not a moment. It is a muscle, a discipline, a decision you make not once, but every single day. The problem is most people wait. They wait for the right mood, the perfect moment, the stars to align. They wait for motivation to strike like divine inspiration, thinking that only then will they take the leap. But the truth is, if you wait for motivation, you'll be waiting your whole life. Change does not come from waiting. It comes from deciding. Every morning you wake up, you face a silent battle, one most people lose before they even open their eyes. The battle between who you were yesterday and who you have the potential to become today. That battle is not fought with strength. It's not about willpower. It's about choice. The second you open your eyes, you're already being asked at who are you going to be today? And if you don't choose consciously, life will choose for you. There is power in choice, more power than most people can comprehend, because the choices you make, small, seemingly insignificant ones, stack up like bricks. You're either building a prison of comfort and regret or a fortress of purpose and discipline. One missed workout becomes a week. One ignored opportunity becomes a pattern. One excuse becomes your identity. But the opposite is also true. One hard decision, one moment of courage can shift your trajectory forever. People overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year of showing up with intention. That's because they forget the compound effect of choice. You don't get stronger by lifting a heavy weight once. You get stronger by choosing to lift it again and again. You don't become more confident by telling yourself once that you're worthy. A screwed up life. You build confidence by consistently taking action that proves you are. When you tell yourself you can't change, what you're really saying is you refuse to choose differently. You're handing over your life to your habits, your fear past. But every habit was built from repetition. Every fear is just a story your mind tells you to stay safe. And your past, that's just a record of who you were, not a blueprint for who you must be. The power to change isn't locked in a seminar, a book, or some distant breakthrough. It's in your next decision. It's in how you speak to yourself, how you show up when no one is watching. It's in whether or not you give yourself an excuse today or you decide to go all in. Look around. Every extraordinary person you admire made a decision to stop blaming, stop waiting, and start leading their life. Do you think they didn't feel fear? Do you think they were ready? They weren't. They just deciding the same was more painful than growing. They didn't wait for perfect. They moved. And then they moved again. And again, until the world around them to the strength of their choices. It is easy to stay stuck. Easy to point fingers. Easy to convince yourself that you are who you are and nothing will change that. But that's the language of comfort. That's how people stay small. That's how people wake up one day buried in regret, not because of what they did, but because of all the days they chose not to rise. If you want to change your life, stop asking for guarantees. Stop seeking certainty. Start making choices that reflect your highest potential, not your current circumstance. You don't get to control everything that happens to you, but you control what you do next. You control whether you step forward or shrink. You control whether today is one more day of sleepwalking or the first day of a completely different path. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to decide that who you are right now is not the limit, that every moment is another chance to begin again stronger, more focused, more committed. And yes, it will be hard. Yes, it will demand effort, consistency, and sacrifice, but so does staying the same. Comfort has a cost too, and it's usually your potential. So stop romanticizing change as a dramatic transformation that will happen to you. Change is not something you wait for. It's something you wake up and choose over and over until it becomes who you are. That's the real power. The moment you stop outsourcing your transformation to luck, timing, or other people's life, you take your power back because you can't always control what happens in the world. But you can always control the standard you set for yourself when the day begins. Everybody has good intentions. Everyone has plans, dreams, ideas. The world is full of people who say they want to change, say they want to succeed, say they want more out of life. But when the time comes to act, they freeze, they delay, they justify, they stay still and call it strategy. They call it patience, but it's not strategy. It's fear. It's doubt wrapped in the disguise of waiting for the right time. And while they wait, someone else is moving. Someone else is taking action. Someone else is building the very life they're only thinking about. Intentions are cheap. Action is currency. You can talk about discipline or you can be disciplined. You can write about the life you want or you can start living like it's already yours. Intentions will never change your life. You cannot think your way to a new reality. You cannot plan your way into greatness. You must move. You must execute even when it's messy, even when it's uncertain, especially when it's uncomfortable. The world rewards execution. It always has. The ones who rise aren't the ones with the best ideas. They're the ones who act on them. They fail, they adjust, they keep moving. While everyone else is trapped in the illusion of preparation, they are building. While others ask for advice, they are learning by doing. While others seek perfection, they are creating progress. It's not talent that wins. It's not even potential. It's action. Relentless, consistent, uncomfortable action. Some people spend years studying the map but never take the journey. They drown in books and quote casts, in podcasts, collecting knowledge like trophies, but never apply it. Information without implementation is just another form of procrastination. You already know what to do. You already know what needs to change. The gap isn't in knowing. It's in doing. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another voice telling you what's possible. What you need is to get up and do the thing. Make the call. Write the page. Say the truth. Move your body. Shift the pattern. Start small. Start badly if you must. But start. There is no perfect time to begin. Waiting for the ideal moment is the fastest way to waste your potential. Life will never line up perfectly. The stars won't align. The fear won't vanish. The voice of doubt won't suddenly fall silent. Action isn't what comes after you feel ready. It's what makes you ready. Confidence isn't built in your head. It's earned through evidence. The more you act, the louder your belief becomes. The more you do, the more your identity shifts. You don't become a writer by dreaming about writing. You become a writer by writing. You don't become strong by imagining strength. You build it rep by rep, hour by hour, day after day. Identity is not what you think. It's what you prove. There are people right now doing the things you keep saying you want to do, not because they're smarter, not because they're luckier, but because they stopped talking and started building. They didn't ask for certainty. They didn't wait for clarity. They just moved. They chose imperfect action over perfect hesitation. And every step they took gave them feedback. It's how you learn. That's how you grow. Not from more thought, but from more movement. Your goals don't care about your excuses. Your dreams don't care how tired you are. The life you want is waiting on the other side of what you're refusing to do. That hard conversation, that uncomfortable decision, that bold leap you keep putting off, nothing changes until you do. Not in thought. In action, it's easy to say you want more. It's easy to post about ambition, to talk about the grin, to wear hustle like a badge, but real work isn't loud, it's quiet. It happens in the dark when no one is watching. When it's just you, your willpower, and the choice to show up or shrink, to execute or excuse, to build or to delay. People get addicted potential to being almost great, almost disciplined, almost consistent, but almost doesn't count. Potential is just possibility until it's proven. Execution is what separates the dreamers from the doors. It's what separates the talkers from the leaders. It's what takes you from wishing to winning. You don't get to rise because you had a good idea. You rise because you did something about it. You pushed through the resistance. You overcame the noise. You acted while others hesitated. You refused to let fear sit in the driver's seat. And that decision again and again, day after day, is what builds an unshakable life. Thinking won't build your legacy. Acting will. Pain is a language the body and mind both understand. It cuts through noise. It commands attention. But pain is not your enemy. Pain is not here to punish you. Pain is the most honest messenger you will ever meet. It doesn't lie. It doesn't sugarcoat. It shows you exactly where the work is, exactly where you've been hiding. And if you learn to listen to it, not run from it, it will become your greatest power. Most people try to numb it. They bury it under distractions, drown it in addictions, hide it behind business and denial. But pain doesn't disappear when ignored. It festers. It waits. It shows up in your relationships, in your work, in your sleep, in your decisions, because pain demands to be dealt with. And until you face it, it will own you. But once you face it, Once you stop resisting and start transforming, becomes your fuel. It becomes the fire you light beneath everything you do. And nothing is stronger than a person who's turned their suffering into strength. The truth is, every setback you've experienced, every heartbreak, every failure, every rejection, every time you were counted out, misunderstood, left behind, betrayed, or broken, that was not the end. That was a beginning. But most people treat pain like a wall. They hit it and stop. They say, this is too much, I can't take it. What they don't realize is that pain is not a wall. It's a door to the next version of you, a doorway to depth, to resilience, to purpose. But only if you choose to walk through it. Pain is a forge. It either hardens you into bitterness or hammers you into greatness. You decide what it turns you into. You can carry it like a weight that crushes you, or you can channel it like a current that drives you. The choice is yours. It always has been. Some of the most unstoppable people on this planet aren't the ones who had the smoothest lives. They're the ones who were broken and got back up. Not once, not twice, but every time. They didn't let pain define them. They used it to refine them. People think success is born in comfort. It's not. Comfort creates complacency. It breeds weakness. Pain creates urgency. It shatters illusions. It forces clarity. The pain of being broke can drive you to financial freedom. The pain of being overlooked can push you to develop unmatched skill. The pain of isolation teaches you to lead yourself when no one else shows up. And the pain of loss can remind you how precious time really is, how fast it all goes, and how little room there is for wasting days pretending you have forever. When you stop seeing pain as something to avoid, it becomes something you harness. Life. It becomes a compass pointing you toward the places you're meant to grow. It shows you the parts of yourself that are unhealed, the beliefs that are limiting, the standards that are too low. It doesn't feel good, but it's necessary, because nothing transforms without pressure. Nothing sharpens without friction. And no fire ever started without a spark. You can pretend you're not hurting. You can distract yourself with shallow pleasure, but pain will always outlast avoidance. It will find you until you stop and say, I'm ready to feel this. I'm ready to learn from this. That's the moment the shift happens. That's the moment you stop being a victim of your experience and start becoming a student of it. That's where wisdom is born. Not in your victories, but in the nights you thought you wouldn't make it and still go up the next day. Pain teaches you what you're made of. You don't really know yourself when things are easy. Ease doesn't test you. Ease doesn't reveal your grit, your heart, your capacity to keep going when everything says stop. Only pain does that. Only pressure brings out power. You want to know what's really inside you. Don't look at your goals. Look at your scars. Look at what you survived. Look at what you had to rebuild. That's where your real story is. The people not who rise are not the ones who avoid pain. They are the ones who look in the eye and say, thank you. Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for the edge. Thank you for the hunger. And then they use it. They use it in their art, in their work, in their training, in their leadership. They pour that pain into something bigger than themselves. And that's when pain stops being a wound and starts becoming a weapon. There's a version of you on the other side of your suffering that you haven't met yet. A stronger, wiser, more focused version. But you don't get to meet them by skipping the hard parts. You meet them by walking straight into the fire again and again until the fire becomes a part of you. Pain doesn't just change you. It reveals you. And if you let it, it will elevate you to levels you didn't think were possible. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is not weakness. Fear is not something to be eliminated, escaped, or ignored. Fear is a signal. It's information. It's a compass pointing you in the direction where the most growth lies. But most people don't understand this. They treat fear like a wall, something to stop in front of, something to back away from. They feel it rise up in their chest and assume it's a sign to turn around. But fear isn't trying to stop you. It's trying to wake you up. Your fear knows exactly where your limits are. That's why it always shows up right before a breakthrough, right before the risk, right before you step out of what's safe, familiar, and predictable. It whispers to you because it knows you're about to change, and it doesn't like change. It likes comfort. It likes control. But if you only move when fear is silent, you'll never go anywhere. You'll be stuck in the same loop year after year, chasing certainty while your potential rots in the shadows. Fear is not a cage unless you treat it like one. What makes it a cage is when you let it decide for you, when you let it shape your choices, shrink your vision, or keep you from showing up. Fear will offer you a million stories to justify your hesitation. It will tell you're not ready, that you'll fail, that people will judge you, you'll lose everything. And if you believe those stories, if you give them weight, then fear wins. Not because it's stronger than you, but because you gave it permission to be. But fear can be flipped. It can be used. The same energy that makes you anxious can make you sharp. The same adrenaline that makes your hands shake can give you power. The same voice that tries to scare you can be the one that tells you exactly where to go. If you feel fear when you think about taking a step, that usually means it's the step you need to take. That's the path with meaning. That's the door with growth behind it. You have a screwed up life. That's the edge where your evolution begins. No one escapes fear. Even the best in the world feel it. The difference is they move with it. They understand it. They know fear shows up loudest right before the moment that matters. They've trained themselves to see it not as a red light, but as a green one. Because when you act in the presence of fear, when you do the thing your mind is trying to talk you out of, you build power. You gain ground. Fear only has authority when you obey it. Every time you disobey your fear, you weaken its grip. You reclaim space inside yourself that it tried to steal. And over time, it starts to lose its influence. It stops being the loudest voice in the room. It becomes background noise. Still there, still whispering, but no longer in control. Because you've proven through your actions that fear is not the truth. That fear is not the leader. That fear does not get to decide who you become. You don't build courage by feeling fearless. You build courage by moving forward in spite of it. Courage is forged in moments of doubt, in moments where your pulse races and your breath shortens and everything in you wants to run. That is where strength is built. Not when you feel safe, but when you feel scared and still choose to act. That's how you develop grit. That's how you rise. There are dreams you haven't touched because of fear, words you haven't said, risks you haven't taken, chances you've let pass. And every time you hesitate because of fear, you teach yourself a lie, that it's okay to play small, that it's okay to stay hidden. But somewhere deep down, you know the truth. You know you were built for more than safety. You were built to chase something that scares you. Because fear means you care. Fear means there's something at stake. Fear means this matters. Most people spend their lives avoiding fear, and they never learn what they're capable of. They live behind a mask of comfort, pretending they're satisfied, convincing themselves that safety is happiness. But safety without growth is a slow death. You weren't born to play it safe. You weren't born to tiptoe around risk and call that life. You were born to expand, to evolve, to test yourself against the things that shake you. You were born to use fear as fuel. The edge of fear is where all the good stuff lies. That conversation you've been avoiding, that decision you keep postponing, that dream you secretly think is too big for you. It's all waiting on the other side of the fear you've been obeying. And when you finally realize that fear isn't to trap you, but to guide you, everything shifts. You stop asking how to feel fearless and start asking how to move anyway. You stop negotiating with it. You stop waiting for the fear to disappear. You take it with you. You carry it into the unknown. And you let it sharpen you instead of stopping you. Every person is walking around with a story playing in their mind, a script they didn't even choose, yet follow like law. Most of it was written long ago by parents, teachers, pain, society, failure, and fear. And without realizing it, most people build their lives around that story. They make decisions based on it. They shrink or stretch according to what the story allows. They call it truth, but it's not truth. It's not, it's repetition. It's just a narrative they've never challenged. The story says you're not smart enough, that you've missed your chance, that people like you don't win, that you'll never escape your past, that your worth is tied to your mistakes, that what you've done is who you are. And when that story plays loud enough and long enough, it becomes identity. And once you believe the story is who you are, you stop questioning it, you stop rewriting it, you stop living beyond it. But here's the truth of the story can be rewritten. You are not bound to the page you were handed. You are not stuck in the script someone else gave you. You are the author you always were. But no one tells you that. No one teaches you that the most powerful thing you can do isn't to try harder. It's to change the narrative. Because your actions flow from your beliefs. Your habits come from your identity, and your identity is shaped by the story you repeat to yourself every day. If you see yourself as broken, every decision you make will reflect that. If you believe you're destined to fail, you have a subconsciously sabotage everything good that enters your life, not because it's true, but because the story told you that's how it ends. The mind is loyal to the story. It will twist reality to protect it. That's why you keep running into the same cycles. That's why success feels impossible. That's why change feels temporary. Because you're trying to live a new life with the same old narrative. Changing your life begins with changing your internal dialogue. It means catching the story while it's running and asking, is this really who I am? Or is this just familiar, just inherited, just comfortable? Comfort is dangerous because it feels safe, even when it's toxic, even when it's keeping you small. You have to be willing to break up with your old self. You have to be willing to outgrow your identity. You have to become more loyal to your future than your past. You're allowed to say, this story doesn't serve me anymore. You're allowed to stop being the victim, to stop being the failure, to stop being the quiet one, the weak one, the invisible one. You don't owe your old identity anything. You don't have to live the rest of your life defending a script that was never written for your highest self. When the story changes, your behavior follows. Your energy shifts. Your standards rise. You stop choosing things that drain you because the new story says you're worth more. Rewriting your story isn't about pretending. It's not about ignoring the pain. It's about integrating it and deciding it's not the conclusion. It's the beginning. You can take everything that's happened to you, everything that tried to break you, everything that scarred you, and turn it into power. That's the beauty of story. It can be edited, evolved, flipped. You can take what used to define your weakness and make it your reason to lead. You can turn heartbreak into empathy, failure into focus, rejection into hunger. This is not about hype. It's about awareness. When you know the story you're living, you can finally take control of it. You can stop reacting and start creating. You can start making decisions as the person you're becoming, not the one you've been told you are. Because every time you act from the new story, you strengthen it, you give it proof, and eventually it becomes natural. It becomes the new normal. You don't have to fake it. You are it. Too many people are trying to fix the symptoms of a story they refuse to rewrite. They change the environment, the job, the relationship, the routine. But the same result follows them everywhere because they never question the core identity driving it all. You don't rise above the story you believe. You don't outperform your self-image. You always return to the level of the story you think you're worthy of. So if you want different results, start with the script. What do you believe you're capable of? What do you think you deserve? What does the story say about your limits, your future, your potential, your worth? If you don't like the answers, that's the work. Not fixing your schedule, not grinding harder, not doing more, but going inside and rewriting what you've always accepted as fact. The pen has always been in your hand. You just forgot you were holding it. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't need a reason. You don't have to justify becoming someone new. The old story may have gotten you here, but it will not take you to where you're meant to go. A new level of life demands a new level of identity, and a new identity begins with a decision to change the story you've been living inside of. You want to change your life? Then stop waiting and start deciding. Every single day is a vote for who you are becoming. You are not your past. You are not your excuses. You are the choices you make when no one's watching, when the world is silent and it's just you and your standard. Action is what separates the talkers from the doors and the doors from the leaders. Intention means nothing without execution. You don't need more plans. You need more movement. Your pain is not a curse, it's your calling. It's there to push you, shape you, sharpen you. Use it. Let it remind you what you survived and let it fuel who you are becoming. Don't run from it. Rise because of it. And when fear shows up, and it will, you don't back down. You don't freeze. You don't fold. Fear is not a wall. It's a sign, a direction, a compass pointing straight toward your next level. Walk into it. Feel it and move anyway. Because the only thing powerful enough to change your life forever is not some outside force. It's not luck. It's not timing. That's you. Finally waking up to the truth that you are not the story you've been told. You are the author. The script is yours now. Tear up the old one. You have a screw-up life, right? The version where you stop surviving and start leading. The version where you take back the pen and build something unstoppable. The life you want doesn't respond to hope. It responds to ownership. This is the moment you stop playing small. This is the moment you rise. This is the moment everything changes. Because you did.